some of their observations of the amazing growth and things that have happened over the week.
So I'm Joe Schmid. I just finished my third year in the philosophy department here at Princeton University, PhD student, and probably my favorite, I'm the head of instruction for reason and rationality, and probably my favorite thing this week was, in addition to the passion that all you guys brought, was definitely all the times where you independently landed on like new and interesting moves that are being made in the philosophical literature by professional philosophers in response to the arguments that we were covering. So like one example of this, we were talking about Pascal's wager. We just saw Beckett give a kind of version of Pascal's wager, but Pascal's wager, we could draw a decision matrix. We have states of the world on the top. So God either exists or he doesn't exist. So God doesn't exist. And you can either, so these are actions on the left-hand side, you can either believe in God or not believe in God. We assign a probability to God's existence, which is greater than 0, and a probability that God doesn't exist, less than 1. And we assign utilities to the various outcomes of the state of the world combined with you believing. So, if God exists and you believe, Pascal's thought is that you get an infinite reward, because infinitely many happy days in heaven. And then for the reasons that Beckett gave, these are all going to be finite. The math still works out if you put a negative infinity here. To get the expected utility of believing in God, you just multiply down the probabilities for the utilities. It's a weighted average of the utilities associated with the outcomes given what you choose. So the expected utility of believing is going to be a finite number times infinity, which is going to be infinity, plus a finite number, which is infinity. And then the expected utility of not believing is going to be finite. And so what Pascal says is that rationally you should believe in God. That maximizes your expected utility. Now, one natural objection to this is what's called the many gods objection. So, people come to Pascal and they're like, oh man, but there are so many conceptions of God out there. What sort of God am I supposed to believe in? Should I believe in the Christian God, the Muslim God, the Hindu God? Like, what am I supposed to do? Okay, and that really massively complicates the matrix, because maybe some of these promise infinity if you believe in that God, but not in the other gods. It's like, well, what's going on? How does this work? And it turns out that if you do the math, multiple actions here are going to maximize expected utility. Being a Muslim, being a Christian, being a Hindu. These are all going to maximize expected utility. So what are we to do? Well, in steps Thomas. Thomas is here to solve the problem for us. Thomas says in class, what if we used the probabilities of the gods, or the probabilities of the religions, as tiebreakers? Right? So I gave this example when he suggested this. Imagine we had two doors. Door 1, door 2. Door 1 gives you, if you choose it, a 90% chance of heaven. And door 2 only gives you a 10% chance of heaven. Which, of course, that would have an infinite payoff. And it turns out that if you do the expected utility calculations, both of these have an expected utility of infinity. So, okay, what do we do? Well, it seems obvious what you should do. You should choose the one that gives you a greater chance of getting the infinite payoff, right? And so that was basically Thomas's suggestion, and that's one that has been recently hit on in the philosophical literature. I thought that was so cool, so fun, and it was amazing just seeing you guys land on that. Another example of this was, I'll be briefer this time. Another example of this was, it was Ava and Aisha? Where's Ava? Is Ava here? Yes! Do you remember in the Frankfurt case? Yeah, so we talked about Harry Frankfurt developed this case where it seems like someone can be free and responsible for acting in the way that for acting as they do, even though they could not have done otherwise. And so it involves a case where there's a nefarious neuroscientist who's examining what you're about to do. He can maybe detect what you're about to choose. He wants you to choose on your own to kill someone. And if you're about to choose not to kill them, he's going to intervene and, basically coerce you into killing the person. So no matter what, you're going to kill the person. You couldn't have done otherwise than kill the person, but it still seems like if you go through with it on your own, you're morally responsible for killing them, even though you couldn't have done otherwise than kill them. Okay, so this is supposed to be a counterexample of the thought that being free and responsible for choosing a particular way requires being able to do otherwise. Because this is a case where someone is free and responsible, even though they couldn't have done otherwise. And then Ava almost immediately comes up with one of the best objections in the literature, which is oh, well, hold on a second. It seems like in this case, the person does still have the ability to do otherwise, because the person could either choose to kill the person or omit to choose and thereby force the nefarious neuroscientist's hand to make you go through with it. And so actually there really are remnant alternative possibilities here, and so it's not a counterexample of the principle. And I was like, oh, that's so amazing, and then you gave Aisha a high five, and you guys were so excited. So I don't know, it's just like little moments like that, where you guys, I can see the passion in your eyes, I can see you landing on these moves that professional philosophers are making, made me so happy, and most importantly made you guys happy, and developed your critical thinking skills. So that's my absolute favorite part of this. Thank you.